show you a little bit more about what Miriam covered in class, the ability to adjust your animations or have more control over your animations. I have two compositions here, one with a leaf and the other one with a bowling ball. And I want to use these to demonstrate how to better control your animations. The deal with the bowling ball is that it's very heavy, and if you wanted to have it animate, in general, it'll probably start off slowly and then end up going fast. Let me go to my layer here. I can twirl down the little arrow next to my purple box here and then my transform, but we're getting to the point where we can start to use some keyboard shortcuts. So I'm just going to hit P on my keyboard, which brings up my position. I am going to start my bowling ball off on the left, hit my stopwatch, and then go out into time and drag the bowling ball over. I'm going to hold down my shift key actually so that it stays in exactly the same X position. And this allows my bowling ball to move from keyframe A to keyframe B. The problem with this is, again, a bowling ball is very heavy and it's going to want to roll more slowly than that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag over these keyframes, so just the keyframes, and I'm going to right click on them, then go to keyframe assistant, and in this case I want easy ease out, meaning I want this bowling ball, and you can see what happens, starts off slowly and then starts to go faster and faster. I need to put some rotation on it, but and let's do that right now actually. I'm going to hit R on my keyboard, which now brings up rotation. I'm going to go to my beginning stopwatch and then out in time, and I'm going to start rotating this ball. I'll probably want to clean up that rotation a little bit, but that's fine. So it start rotating, then it starts to go quicker. I'd probably right about here want to have that rotation go faster, but we can control that at a different point. Okay, let me go to this here. It's the graph editor, and when I click on it, I have this timeline highlighted, and when I click on the graph editor, I see my, let me go back to, I'm going to show you that I want to make sure my position's highlighted and go to my graph editor for my position, because the graph editor is context specific to whatever you have highlighted. This is, in this case, this is the speed graph, and I want to edit it, and it's the speed, it's how fast this bowling ball is going to start changing position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Bezier curve to sort of flatten out the first part of my animation and then have it really start to jazz up and go fast in the second part. And the Bezier curves, if you haven't used them, take a little bit of messing or fiddling around. They're connected to these values here, these nodes here, XY axis values here, and these handlebars are what we want to fuss with. So I'm going to hit play on my keyboard by hitting the space bar. This starts off pretty slowly, and then it starts to gather some speed and go much faster. That's what I'd like. I feel like that's a better representation of how the bowling ball is going to work. Now I do need to adjust my rolling speed. By the way, to get this edit speed graph, I right-clicked on here. There is an edit value graph, which is just talking about the the y-axis in green and the x-axis in red. I don't care about that because for this, it's one bowling ball. I want the x to be consistent, and it's the y that's changing. Okay, great. Let me see if I can click on rotation. There is not the rotation, nothing very exciting is happening with the rotation. Let me turn off this graph and get back to my rotation animation. And how I do that is clicking on this little graph editor. And what I'd like to do is right about, let me play it. So it starts off slowly and it starts to pick up speed right about here. I'm going to add another keyframe by clicking on this diamond. And I'm going to adjust the rotation value here. So I'm going to go use these arrow keys to jump to my first keyframe, which is at 90 degrees, and my second keyframe, I'm not going to make it such a big change. I want it maybe 90 to 120. Okay, let's see what that looks like. So it's kind of slowly getting started. Maybe 120 is too slow. Okay, let's do 160 degrees. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, it's getting started here. It's maybe rolling too much, but here's where it really starts to speed up. Okay, I'm going to go to this last, and I'm going to really jazz this up. I'm going to go back. I think I really want a value of 140, I think. Let's see what this looks like. So it's getting off slowly. Yep. There we go. Maybe skittering along a little bit, and then all of a sudden it starts to pick up. And I need to make sure that my position keyframe matches my rotation keyframe. Great. I'd probably fuss with my rotation keyframe A and B, but I'm very happy with B to C. Great. Let's mess around with the leaf next. Position here with this leaf, and what I'd like it to do is I would like my leaf to start off fast, right? Leaves are falling from the tree, but then they start to slow down. And I'm just going to set up a simple position of my leaf. I'm going to start at the top and then go here and then have it gently fall down to the ground. I'd probably want to have a rotation on here, but we'll see how that goes. All right, that's kind of nice. But I really want to control how fast it's moving within here. So I'm going to highlight all of these keyframes, right click on them, go to Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease In. So now what I have is I have these arrows instead of the diamond shapes, and we can see that the leaf is faster at the start and then starts to slow down. It's somewhat awkward though. We really want to control this more. So let's go to our graph editor. Whoopsie doopsie, I didn't have this highlighted. Now I go to the graph editor. Sorry, I have to have my position highlighted. Then I go to the graph editor, and I can see, in this case, I can tell that I have edit speed graph on. So I can adjust how fast this leaf moves from position A to B. And I want it to move pretty quickly. And then I would like to slow it down when it goes from B to C. So let's see what that looks like. Great. That's more of what I want. I can also right click on this and I could do edit value graph, and this is where I can adjust the x-axis of my leaf as well as the y-axis. Let's see, right now I have it going over here, but maybe I want to have this arc be more like that so that the speed changes once it starts to curve around. Again, I got here by right clicking, edit value graph or edit speed graph. Okay, let's say I really like this. I mean, it needs work, but let's say I like it. One of the things I want to do is I would like it to make it slicker in between the keyframes, meaning it would be nice if there's a little bit of a rotation needs to happen, but also maybe a blur. And I can click on Enables Motion Blur for all layers with the Motion Blur switch set. So I can turn that on, and it basically will have the computer blur the leaf a little bit. But I have one more step to do. And you remember how I said that After Effects has a complicated menu system. It doesn't really, but you do need to be aware that at the bottom here, it has this toggle switches and modes. We were using modes to use a track mat to mat our type to an image. Now we want switches so we can make sure that this right here, motion blur, is turned on for this animation. Let's see. It's not such a strong animation that you can see it, but we need to make sure that this is set and that this is set in here. I'm going to go back and do a tiny bit of rotation on my leaf. So I want to turn off graph, but I still want to keep my motion blur on. So what I'm going to do is add a keyframe for rotation, and I'm going to go up here and rotate this leaf a teeny bit, then jump to the second position keyframe, and then I'm assuming my leaf is going to start to turn, and then my last, maybe it's really started to slow down. Let's see what this looks like. All right. Better. You can see all realms of possibility.